I want you to be great. I want you to be significant. In fact, if you suck right now, I really want you to win. Because the farther you've come to where you can be is the greater your story. The swath of your net going through life gathers up more people if you've gone from complete ruin to significant prosperity.
Welcome to the Man Maker Show. This is where weak excuses die and men of all ages are held accountable to rise stronger, bolder, and fearless. Grit, ambition, and authenticity are not optional. They are the price you pay to become the man you are meant to be. If you are ready to face the fire, take charge, and own your future, then your journey starts here. And now your host, Brad Wolgamott.
Welcome back to the Man Maker Show. B-Rad coming to you from Studio Soap Lake. The metropolis of Soap Lake. I guess no one really knew where I lived until now, but oh well. I hope you're doing great. Back from Cabo. Had a wonderful time with family. Spent a beautiful month down there with Chosen and Shelly. Had a fantastic time. Caught a little sun, played a little golf, did a little fishing, did some horseback riding, ate real well. Probably a little too much, to be honest with you. We go down there for a health retreat. It seems as though the food is so freaking good that we end up blowing it out of the water. So now I'm back on a health retreat, being back home. Anyways, I hope you're doing awesome. Good to have you back on channel, whether you're on Spotify or YouTube or Amazon or Apple, wherever you have. Welcome to the Man Maker Show. Just to make it clear, we're about making men. We're about identifying the qualities that make you a strong man. The qualities that make you a leader of men. The qualities that create the kind of resilience it takes to take the heat rounds of being a man. Because it ain't easy. It's not supposed to be easy. We weren't designed to be in a weak environment. There's a real common saying going around now, and that is that hard times make for strong people. Strong people make for good times. Good times makes for weak people, and weak people make for bad times. And that's what we've been dealing with, is there's a lot of weak people. And I don't mean to be negative. I'm not trying to put anybody down. I just think it's fairly obvious that we have lived in a decade and a half of incredible prosperity. It hasn't been that difficult. Only unless you've been kicking butt and grinding and ripping and trying to make it happen, you've hit the adversity of life. But for most people, it's been pretty cruise. Specifically, if you started 15 years ago and you were like 10 and you kind of went through your elementary, junior high school, and college, you really haven't had to deal with it. And so there's a fair amount of spoiled, entitled young people. And if you're one of them listening, then just assume you're not one of them, okay? But I think you'd agree that there are a lot of people that are looking for the easy route versus the route that'll make them better. No one walks into the gym trying to get stronger going, what's the easiest workout? Nobody goes to an environment going, what's the easiest, unless they don't want to get better. The Man Maker Show is about addressing this. And I'm in the middle of a third part of a series talking about the 25 qualities of royalty, of being a prince, of understanding from my position that we are children of God and that God's a king and we're his sons. Therefore, we are part of the royal court, which makes all things possible for all of us. That we should think big. We should think of ourselves as leaders, as influencers, of an impact player, of someone that's willing to take the hard route, that's willing to lead people, not looking for the soft route. And so that's what we're really trying to identify here on these 25 qualities. And if you listen to the last couple messages, you've gotten the first 15 or 16 of them. I'm going to try to wrap it up here tonight. I got to get 9 done in 25 minutes. That's usually my cutoff time. I'll do my best to honor that. But I really encourage you to go back and listen to the last 2 episodes. Nonetheless, let's continue to dig into this. Let's talk about what it takes to be what I would call the spirit of adoption, right? I know who my dad is. I know what's in front of me. I know the potential of my life. I'm not a victim. I'm not an orphan. I'm not a pauper. I'm not someone that needs to, fight out of a box because I've been downtrodden and beat up and hammered my whole life. I know who I am. And yes, life can be tough. And yes, I've been to boxing. Yes, I've been hammered. But I don't need to play the chip on my shoulder. I don't need to play pissed off. I don't need to play hurt. I don't need to play to prove to you that I'm somebody. I know who I am. All right? Now, I spent a lot of my life struggling with this very specific subject. So for me to say this, you have to understand where I'm coming from. And I've spent 30, 40, 50 years of my life, if you will, trying to figure this stuff out. Like, how do I act confident without being arrogant? Right? How do I lead people without having a selfish agenda? Right? How do I make an impact without sounding self-centered? Right? I built a business mentoring people around the world where everybody called me, what you do is greedy. When the very concept of my company was I had to help people build businesses, and based upon their success, I made an income. But if I wasn't successful at helping them make 60, 70, 100 grand, I wasn't going to make 10, 15, 20 grand. But yet most people called me self-absorbed. Most people thought my business was some kind of a scheme that they had taught me the most money. And the reality is the people that were in my organization or below me, whatever term you want to call them, many of them earned me by a mile. And if I put them all together, they've out-earned me by 100x. But people oftentimes don't understand what it takes to win, what it takes to provide for your family in a way that your wife doesn't have to work, right? There's a big push right now, and it's a common conversation I seem to be with a lot of people. Well, my wife likes to work. I get a lot of women say, well, I really like what I do. I'm like, I don't know how to argue with that. I don't want to argue with you, but what goes through my heart is, do you like it more than being with your husband? Well, then maybe you got a big marriage problem. Do you like it more than being with your children? Well, then why'd you have them? I mean, I know I'm going to get all kinds of pushback. Well, what are you saying? What I'm saying is, I think you love your family more, but you've bought into the story that working is somehow more valuable than raising amazing children. There's a statement I think I made a few episodes back that it's a lot easier to raise great children than to heal broken adults. And a lot of my show is about healing broken adults. A lot of you that are struggling with a prominent amount of issues, like I did, right? But I'm hoping that the changes in my life, the healing in my life, can somehow fast forward the process for you. You don't have to go through all the challenges. So let me jump into, we'll call this quality number 17. And quality number 17 of a man of confidence is they don't have anxiety. They don't have worry. I know a lot of people that seem to have that as a middle name. In fact, anxiety is like the chic word today. Or some people even think it's cool to say they're bipolar, which is like bizarre to me because bipolar is a very significant mental illness. And for people that really suffer from it, that's a devastating condition. So for someone to brag about it like it's a chic thing, to me, is bizarre as you can get. But I think a lot of people have a lot of anxiety because they don't trust that things are going to go well. And I would say that were times in my life that I worked from a position of, if I don't go out and smash things, things aren't going to happen. And about 15 years ago, I met a guy. His name was Greg Sweet. I'd known him for years, but I got to know him in depth. And he taught me something that God had taught him, and that was called working from the rest. To learn how to work as hard as you can, but work in a way that you're peaceful. And working from the rest does not mean pushing the buttons from your lazy boy and watching TV and playing video games and expect to be successful without busting your butt for 16 to 20 hours a day. If you're going to create financial prosperity, you're going to have to put in your 15 to 20 hour days. I don't care what your situation is. You're just going to have to pay the dues. The key is, how do you do that while still being a good daddy, while still being a good husband? How do you integrate some of your work into the raising of your children? How do you integrate your work into including your spouse so that you're not isolated away from them? So you make that trade of isolation for intimacy. You make that shift in your life where instead of just, I'm going to come over here and grind and work hard and smash, to create an into me you see relationship. Intimacy being into me you see, meaning that my spouse works with me. My kids are part of that. We set goals together. So working from the rest is one of those worries. In fact, my pastor's wife, who's also a pastor at Desert Church in Ephrata, made a statement about making trades. And he said, you make a trade from worry to wonder. And I love that. I love that quote. In fact, she's the one that said isolation to intimacy. That's also one of her quotes, which was fantastic. And so the idea of working from the rest is that you take this, I don't know, to I wonder how it's going to go. Nobody knows the future. So why get all worked up about it? Guess what? The future's going to happen. You do what you can do. We in sports called it controlling the controllables, right? What's the one thing that never goes on a slump in sports? Hustle. It should never slump. Attitude, preparation should never slump. Yeah, you might get in a hitting slump. You might get in a part of the physical dynamics, the execution slump, but your attitude, your mindset, your preparation, your hustle should never slump. So I don't want you to think that the key to working for the rest is doing nothing. And frankly, it's the opposite. It's learning how to work as hard as you can, but knowing that the results are going to happen, that you're exactly where you need to be to learn exactly what you know, to get exactly what you've asked for. You're in a situation where you work as hard as you can, knowing that the results are going to be the results. They may not be exactly what you want, but they're going to be a result. And from there, you call an audible and you make your adjustments. No big deal. If it doesn't work out the best way, what are you going to do? I'm going to go get better. I'm going to learn, study, and I'm going to re-attack it a little different way. The 18th quality of royalty, or of a spirit of adoption, or a high self-image person, is someone that does not always feel the need to be busy. Oh man, this is a killer one for a lot of people, as they feel like they've always got to be going. They have this mindset: if I don't do it, it won't get done, and therefore that's something terrible. And I think this very close parallel to working from the rest is you got to be okay with the things that don't get done, but you can't be okay in a way that says no big deal, and then you all of a sudden there's a pile of crap around you and you're living in disaster because I'm working from the rest. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is you don't need to fill up your 24 schedule. It's okay to recover. Something I've taught for years, and I'm not even sure I've done an episode on it yet, but it's called rhythms and margins, and learning how to have 3 gears in your life. Rhythm, extremely hardworking, just absolutely somewhat out of focus, but whatever it takes, kind of like jamming for finals or hitting a quarterly report. On purpose with pace, working but having the ability to still be a mom and dad, and catch ball games and do art classes, and you still work hard, but you've got time. And then margin. And margin when you do nothing but recover. You do studies on the people, the activities, and the events that affect your life. And I won't go into complete detail, but there are people that are depleting and replenishing. If you're in margin recovery time, those people that are depleting are out. There are activities that are replenishing and depleting. If they're depleting, they're out. You take the time in this margin to fill yourself up. It's okay. You don't need to be busy all the time. For some reason, they bought in this idle time as evil time, which is nonsense. But for a lot of people in their life, it has been, right? Specifically people with significant addictions. And they're afraid to have idle time. Well, what I want to encourage you to work through with your sponsor, whomever's helping you become great again, is learning how to work from the rest, how to have downtime to where you fill your soul so that you've got the energy to go again. Because if you keep bringing the sponge out again and again, eventually there's nothing left. If you don't take time to absorb life, read a book, listen to a podcast, get around people that replenish you, people, activities, events, if you don't fill yourself up, guess what? Ultimately, you're going to run out of gas. Everybody has time to fill their tanks, but you may not be taking it. And you need to find a way, whether that be with your spouse or your kids, to create some peace in your world to where you can do that, okay? Now, this next one's going to fly in the face of that, so let me walk through it. The third next quality, we'll call this number 19, I guess it is. I want you to set goals that are beyond your ability, all right? In other words, I want them to be very improbable. In fact, I would just as soon they'd be borderline impossible. Now, what's borderline impossible? Well, there are things like, I'm going to fly. Well, that's not going to happen because the law of gravity is stronger than my desire, right? Me playing in the NFL. Well, that's not going to happen at this stage of my life, right? There are things that are, in fact, impossible, I guess, right? There's certainly a lot of things that fly in the face of gravity and thermodynamics and things of that nature. But most people set goals so low or no goals at all because they think the safest way to make it is to not set goals so no one knows if they made it or not. And I'm going to tell you something, that the safest, most obvious way to fail is to set no goals. I said for years, the best way to make a scalpel safe is not to make it dull. It's not to take the edge off. The way to make a knife or a scalpel safe is to put it in the hands of someone who knows what the heck they're doing with it so they can go out and save lives. You don't knock the edge off. So you put yourself in the hands of a God that loves you and of a mentor that has your best interest, and let them lead you and let them guide you. Set goals that require a miracle. Never say never. You don't know. If there's a desire in your heart, then go to work on it. Manage your life with rhythms and margins. Manage your life by learning how to work from the rest to where no one knows that you're under the fire. I think it's described as a swan on the water, cruising across the lake, looks real calm and really is beautiful, but underneath they're shaking like a son of a gun. Learn to be that person, right? Learn to go as hard as you can, but no one really knows you're going as hard as you can, right? I knew a guy did a 40-day fast. The only way I knew is he got like this. But he wasn't telling me how hard it is and how difficult it is and oh my gosh. He just went about his business. And there's something that comes over you supernaturally when you learn how to set big goals that are outrageous, that are probably seem very improbable, if not impossible. But it's amazing how you put them out there. God begins to unfold things in ways that you can imagine. I will do an episode soon on how I made my financial comeback and how I was able to get some things right in my life. And I will promise you there was only one reason. Well, let's go to my partnership of hard work and God's providence and his miraculous involvement in my life. And when I tell the story, you will understand what I'm saying because it is so ridiculous and so outrageous. I should not be here in this moment. In fact, for the most part, I probably shouldn't be alive. But God had a different plan, and I'm happy to be part of it, okay? Step number 20, okay? A person of royalty, of high self-image, spends very little time on other people's opinions, okay? I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt that said, small minds talk about people, average minds talk about events, and great minds talk about change and ideas. Give no time to other people's opinions, right? There's an old saying, opinions are like armpits. Everybody's got them, and they all stink. So, hang in there with that. I know in a world of likes and shares and thumbs and so forth that we can be, messed with and we can be skewed different directions. I've been guilty of it. I still am when I watch different reviews and I see people hating on me. I'm like, man, I want to fight it. But you know what? As a winner, you got to say everybody has a right to their opinion. We live in a great country where that's okay, and their opinions may be different than mine. I had a major argument with a therapist not long ago that was trying to convince me of these thoughts about that they had of me based upon the fact that I had knee pain. It was kind of hilarious, and I'm like, I don't believe you. I'm not going to accept that. However, I do live in a world where you have the right to your opinion, but I also have the right to reject them. And I won't accept that you think that I'm this way because my knees hurt. I mean, maybe you're right, but I'm not going to accept that. Spend little time on people's opinions. Because cowardly people, small minds talk about people. Average minds talk about events. Great minds talk about change and great ideas. So if you got people that are talking about people, they're small-minded people. Give them nothing. Right? I mean, if you hear a comment multiple times, well, then sit down with your mentor and get some feedback. Maybe there's some truth to it. But if you're just getting little spit-spats on social media or from a neighbor or a relative or someone that has not achieved great things, one thing I've learned over the years is really wealthy, successful people rarely tear others down. It's the broke people that tend to tear people down. It's the people that haven't achieved much of anything greatness that tear people down. Great, successful people know the challenges it took to become significant, and all they want to do is encourage you to do the same. It's the small-minded people that want to tear us down. It's like that old crab pot where one tries to get out and one grabs them and drags them back down. It's real common in a world where people want to talk about people. For some miraculous reason, they think that by making that person seem smaller, they seem bigger. And it's a good opportunity to make that trade, that trade of judgment for mercy, right? Instead of getting mad at them or judging them or what a jerk, I can't believe you say that, man. So you know what? What a bummer they don't know Jesus the way I do. What a bummer they don't know how loved they are. What a bummer that they feel like they have to tear people down to lift themselves up, or tear people down for some unbeknownst reason. When you know who you are, when you know the struggles of life, when you know how real it is, all you want to do is raise people up. What's the old saying? Hurting people hurt people. We know, but guess what? Happy people help people. Happy people help people. And someone doesn't want to help you, guess what? They're probably hurting. Because hurting people don't help happy people. Hurting people are mad at happy people. Hurting people judge happy people. Hurting people want to get in the way of happy people. It's a weird dynamic. I've been called overly optimistic. Well, I guess there are worse titles. But typically it's someone that wants to live in this pain world of, oh, you know, it's hard and you just don't know. And maybe you're right. Maybe I don't know. But I do know this much. When stuff hits me, I get a better chance of overcoming it with a great attitude than I do if I've got a defeated attitude. All right, so just spend little time on other people's opinions, all right? 21. Challenge yourself to be around level up people. Challenge yourself to be around people that make you feel uncomfortable. And by uncomfortable, I mean they've achieved way more than you. You're like, what do I say? What do I do? I mean, if you had a chance to sit down with an Elon Musk, right, or the Dalai Lama, or some significant leader, and you had a chance to ask him 5 questions, would you be freaking out or would you be licking your chops? See, I love to get around people that force me to level up. In fact, I would go the opposite of saying, I don't like being around level down people. Not that I'm judging them. It's just I'm bored. I'm bored talking about the weather. I'm bored talking about people. I'm bored talking about events. You know what I talk about? Ideas, change, leadership, a significant impact in the world. That's what gets me going. And I just find great people think the same way. So when I challenge myself to get around level up people, I don't care if it's level up people in the gym, if it's level up people on the golf course, if it's level up people in finances, if it's level up people in my church. In fact, I have a weekly lunch with a gentleman almost every week that levels me up because he challenges me. He's older than me. He's smarter than me. He's more wise than me. He's been through more things. He's been through more failure. And as a result, he's a great influence for me. When I go to the golf course, I get around the best golfers I can, and I suck compared to these guys. But I won't get better playing around crappy people. I'm going to get around people that are awesome. I'm not going to get better in the gym if I just go in there and just hang out with people that are on the phone the whole time. I go in and try to work as hard as the guy that's really making impact. Get around level up people. And if you feel uncomfortable on level people, then you're probably a pauper or an orphan. And I want you to kick that spirit out of your life. I want you to be absolutely thrilled about getting around the most successful, the most significant, the most powerful, the most impactful people you can find. Okay? Which will open up number 22. Sorry. This will open up the opportunity. Because one thing that an orphan deals with is they're obsessed with always being right. And so a man or woman, if you will, anybody, as a spirit of adoption that knows who they are, they don't need to be right. They don't need to be right. Their attitude's kind of like what I learned from Bill Johnson. I can afford it. Right? There are certain individuals I get around and they have to prove it. And they'll get their phone out and they'll Google it and they'll chat GPT it and they'll say, look, see? I go, wow, congratulations. You did it. You win again. And it could be with like one of their friends, one of their family members, one of their work associates. Like, gives a rat's rear if you're right. The contrast to the need to always be right is that you're really good at encouraging others to engage in conversation. In fact, I think that's number 24. Allow others to have the glory in conversation. So I'm skipping 23. I'll come back to in a minute, but a person of strength has no problem. In fact, here's your man maker hat, by the way, I'm thinking about, guys. 10 referrals. Let me send them off to you, man. Send me your address. I'll ship them out. Just a quick pitch there. When you're in a conversation, celebrate other people. Don't feel like you have to always be the story. I don't know if you've experienced this kind of frustration, but it's a bit of a pet peeve. I'm not going to lie for me, and I have to really work on not judging people and really recognize they're just dealing with an orphan spirit, is when someone feels like they got to tell the story. They always have to be right. They always have to be the star. And if they're not, they're bored, and they're on their phone, waiting for their opportunity to drop their next amazing bomb on me so they can fully impress the places they've been, the people they've done, the money they spend, the things they have. And you know what? No one cares. I'm not going to lie. No one cares. And if they do care, they probably fake care. No one really gives a rip how much you have. No one really gives a rip unless you're communicating in a way where it's value to them, where you can share with them, or you're inspiring them, or you're encouraging them, or you're saying, look, I was here, I did this, worked hard, it was hard, you can do the same thing, and this is what I've got now because of what I've done here, so if you do the same, you'll have the same, and if that inspires you, great, but you don't need to be the star in every conversation. In fact, I would just go as far as saying, don't be the star. In fact, I suppose it's a struggle I have in conversations is I don't want to be the star. So I have to work really hard in drawing things out of people. That's why one of the skills I've learned over the years is be a great question asker and draw it out. Find out what they do for work and why they do it and where they do it and what's the challenge and what's the plan and how'd you become that and where do you go next in that and how do you impact and how does that affect your family, and to dig in and learn how to ask questions, because I have a deep fascination for people. And some people are like, I really don't. That's because you're an orphan. I'm sorry. But when you're the son of the king, and all you want to do is make the world amazing, you have a deep fascination in people, a deep fascination for their story, a deep fascination for what their overcoming has been. And you have this, like, how can I use this information some way to help somebody else? How can I inspire or empower someone? Oh my gosh, I know a guy just like you. Let me tell your story to them, and I hope that they'll be impacted by that. So you don't always have to be right, and you don't always have to be the star of the story, okay? Does that make sense? I mean, sincerely challenge yourself in conversations to ask questions, draw out their greatness, right? I talk about my pastor all the time, and I probably talked to him one day about my life, so I'm always quoting, and I apologize for that. I don't really apologize for that, but I don't want to, overdo it. But what I've noticed about this guy is he has some of the best, if not the best, skills I've seen in drawing things out from people, like deep questions with good eye contact, and laughs and smiles and encourages and tell me more, and I can tell the person I'm talking to is really digging this. They're really enjoying sharing the story because he's such an active listener. Right? He's not thinking, what do I say next? How do I impress them? And I can't wait to tell my story. How do I bring myself in? It's all about, let me get to know you. And if I can get to know you, and you know that I care about you, then maybe you want to know about me. And if you know about me, then you're going to know Jesus, because he's my pastor. I don't even think that's his agenda. I think his honest agenda is just deep connection. And in the back of his mind, probably thinking, man, I hope this guy knows the Lord. I hope. But he's not one of these guys that's all preachy and poundy and like, you need to know Jesus. He's just really it's a very natural thing for people. So that kind of leads me into my next quality, and I'm all screwed up on numbers now here, but the next one is a person of royalty does not struggle with forgiving people. Now, this is where I kind of fell off the wagon, because for a long time, a lot of my identity was held in resentment. And resentment comes from the word resento, which is again, and sento is to cut. So resentment is kind of a self-inflicted cut, hoping to hurt the other person. Your resentment is like drinking poison, thinking you're going to kill the other person. For some reason, we have this, if I forgive them, then they're getting away with it. If I forgive them, then I'm wrong and they're right. And for some reason, we just really struggle. I will do a specific podcast on resentment, ultimately, in the near future, and talk about the difference between prisoners and captives of things that have happened in life. I don't have time for it now, but effectively what happens for a lot of people is they think forgiveness is saying it never happened and you were right. That is so wrong. Let me just keep it very simple. Forgiveness basically means I am no longer controlled by this event. There it is. That's what it means. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It means I am releasing any kind of bondage on me that I'm acting a certain way because of this happened. Forgiveness says I'm releasing the bondage in my life. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means it no longer controls me. Now, for some reason, forgiveness has been skewed into all kinds of different things, but in my opinion, forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. And again, I could spend 30 minutes on that, but if you're struggling with forgiveness, you're still operating as an orphan. As a king, as a son of the king, as a prince, we have the ability to forgive and let them work out their details. I am not going to let it drive me in a negative way, okay? So I think I'm down to my last one, and that is an orphan struggles with optimism. So a spirit of adoption is someone that has an overall happy outlook regardless of the circumstances, right? Regardless of what's going on, they find a way, even in death. I recently saw a movie, oh man, I knew I was going to forget the name of it, but it has the guy, Mark, what's his name, Wahlberg, and he plays a guy that was just a party savage, and then finds God and decides to become a priest. And it's called Father something. And if you get a chance to watch it, it was really amazing. I won't ruin the story for you, but it was the case of the ultimate optimism. Everyone in his life said he was making the dumbest choice. You'll never make it. You're this kind of person. You're not a priest. You're not cut from that cloth. You're not designed for that. And he's like, I refuse to accept that. I refuse. Regardless of what you say, I know who I am. And he never got negative at him. He never got mad at him. He just said, I think differently, and this is my life, this is my brain, this is my mouth, I dictate how things go in my life, and I say, I'm going to be a priest. And I think in our life, a lot of people get annoyed by the optimism of a prince, and that's because I just believe that all things work out, even in death, right? We're all going to die. Ultimately, when I lost my mom, it was heartbreaking, but I knew it wasn't permanent. When I lost my dad recently, it hurt, right? I'm an earthly orphan now. It hurt. But I know I'll see him again. And I know that I now have the responsibility of carrying the good qualities that my mom and dad poured into me and do the best to express them to the world, because now I'm the living genetics of them, along with my two brothers and sister. So someone of princely nature has an optimistic outlook. I talked about earlier one of the qualities, and that is framing adversity, right? It's trading that worry for wonder. Another great quote from my pastor's wife, Christina. I mean, I try not to use names. I use them all the time. Sorry. Anyways, trading worry for wonder, changing the mindset that everything's going to work out. And I'm going to trust that. And even though everything about me says, freak out, I'm going to fight that every bit of the way and learn to rest and to trust. I'm going to keep working hard, but there'll be peace about me. I'm going to work hard without you knowing. I'm going to pull long hours without you knowing. I'm going to play injured. If I'm sick, I'm tired, you won't even know I'm sick and tired because I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep an optimistic mindset. People say all the time, Brad, aren't you tired? Everything about me cries to say, yes, but it doesn't do me any good to say I'm tired. You're not going to feel a whole lot bad for me. You can't fix my problem. You can't go to work for me. You can't do my stuff. I got to find a way to beat it myself. And if I say I'm tired, I'm one step further from the solution. If I admit that I'm struggling, now there is a good reason for a confidant, someone in your life that you speak with when you're struggling and you're hurting, that one or two people you trust with everything, to have those conversations. But even so, no, it's going to work out. I'm struggling with, the finances, the numbers, the health, my family, I get it. But the reality of a sonship is eternal optimism. And there's nothing wrong with that. And don't you dare let anybody talk you out of eternal optimism. Well, Brad, no. Get away from me. Get away from me. I refuse to accept that. I am going to do everything I can until I can't do anymore. I am going to control the controllables, and then I will accept the outcome. And in doing so, I keep my mindset right. So let me read these to you again. Number 1, no worry or anxiety. Number 2, do not feel the need to always be busy. Number 3, which is now number 19, set goals that border on very improbable. Number 20, spend very little time on others' opinions. Number 21, challenge myself to be around others who level me up. Number 22, not obsessed with always being right. Okay? Number 23, do not struggle with forgiving people. Understand what it really means. 24, allow others to have the glory in conversations. And 25, an overall happy and positive attitude regardless of the situation. This sits in my car, okay? And I am constantly reviewing this because I have to fight a nature in me to be anxious, a nature in me to get angry, a nature in me to be obsessive, a nature in me, I have some things in my life that I got to grind through. But by having this in my car, and which many people have seen it, and I keep adding to it, helps keep me on track. Write them down. Listen to all 3 podcasts. Make your own list. I want you to be great. I want you to be significant. In fact, if you suck right now, I really want you to win. Because the farther you've come to where you can be is the greater your story. The swath of your net going through life gathers up more people if you've gone from complete ruin to significant prosperity. And that's the beauty of it. I have been to hell and back, I think. I've had cancer. I've had heart attack. I've had my home repossessed. I've been homeless. I don't even go through my laundry list. I've been through enough stuff to know there is a God that loves me, is not done with me. There's a meaning for my life. And you may say, well, good for you, Brad. Yeah. I'm not saying to brag. I'm saying that because some of you need to hear that. That it wasn't always easy. That it was a struggle. And I did make massive mistakes. And I'm ashamed and embarrassed for those mistakes. But they don't define me, and they don't define you. You know why they don't define me? Because I've gotten back up and made a new story out of my life. And I want you do the same thing. But take these qualities, own them, and go to work and share them with the world. First, live them. Be the fire that people gather around to feel the heat, and then share your testimony. That means a test and go out and get some money. All right? You have a testimony. Strength, honor, Man Maker Show. Keep going. Keep digging in. Keep grinding. Right? Took me 2, 3, 4 decades to get this right. If you're young and you figure it out early and you can knock these 25 things off, the impact you'll make in your life is going to be outrageous. And I can't wait to hear your stories. All right? Be rad. Man Maker Show. Out.